This is a radical. This is a square root right here. This is called the radical. And the number inside the square root is called the radical. Did you know that a radical is actually a power? It's actually x to the 1/2 power. Okay? And since it's a half, that means I need 2 halves to equal 1 whole. Okay, so we're going to be using this fact in the next slide. Here's how I'd like to explain how to simplify a radical. I view the radical sign as a house, and inside we have our number. Parents like their children to be safe, so in order for the number to go outside and play outside of the radical, then you have to have a buddy system. So you have to have a partner to go outside and play. Your partner is going to have to be the same number as you or the same factor as you. If you don't have a partner, then it's not safe for you to go outside and play. So how do I find the partners? Well, I'm going to factor out 12, and I'm going to use the ladder method. The ladder method allows me to keep all of my factors together in a single file line. So I'm going to do kind of like reverse division. And I always start off dividing by 2. That's my smallest prime number, and since 12 is even, I can divide by 2. So when I divide by 2, I get 6. Then I want to check, can I continue to divide by 2? Yes, I can divide by 2 again, and I get 3. Can I divide by 2 again? No. So that means I move on to my next prime number, which happens to be 3. I can divide by 3, and I get 1. Whenever you get down to 1, that means you're done. That means you cannot factor anymore. So all of these numbers here are your factors, and they're your prime factors. I don't have to break these down any further. Now, remember how I said you had to have a partner to come outside and play? Well, I have a 2, and 2 has a partner. That means 2 can go outside of the radical and play. 3, he doesn't have a partner. He can't go outside and play. So my simplified radical, here's the 2 that gets to come outside and play, and only 1 gets to come out because remember, 2 halves can only equal a whole. That's why we have to have 2, and you have to have a buddy to come outside and play. Well, 3 doesn't have a buddy, so he has to stay in the square root. So here's my square root or my radical, and here's 3. Here's my final answer. Square root of 12 reduces down to 2 square root of 3. Let's try another example. Okay, let's try the square root of 48. I'm going to break down square root of 48 by doing reverse division, and I always start with 2. So 48 is even, which means I can divide by 2. I get 24 left over. It's still even, I can divide by 2, and I get 12. Still divide by 2, I get 6. I can still divide by 2, I get 3. Now I can't divide by 2 anymore, so I go to my next prime number. My next prime number is 3. And then here's my 1. Now I know I'm done, because when I get to 1, I know I'm done. So now I'm going to circle my pair of numbers. Remember, you have to have a partner to go outside and play. So here's a pair of 2s that can go outside and play. Here's a second pair of 2s that can go outside and play. And unfortunately, 3 is all by his lonesome. He'll have to stay inside. So what happens here is I have that first 2 that gets to come out and play. I have that second 2 that gets to come out and play. And then I have 3 who's all by his lonesome. Well, what do I do if I have more than one number come outside to play? They get multiplied together. So I have 2 times 2, which is 4. And then the square root of 3 inside stays the same. And this is my final answer. So square root of 48 reduces down to 4 square root of 3. Let's try another one. Okay, so we're going to square root 540. and I see it's even, so I can always start dividing by 2, and I get 270. 270 ends in a 0, so that means it's even, and I can divide it by 2 again, and I get 135. Now that 5 is odd, I know that I can't divide by 2 anymore, so my next prime number after 2 is 3. And I want to check and see if I can divide by 3. So I'm going to add 1 plus 3 plus 5, and I get 9. And 9 is divisible by 3, so that means I can divide by 3. And I get 45 left over. And I want to check and see if I can divide by 3 again. So I'm going to check 4 and 5. That adds up to 9. 9 is divisible by 3, so I can divide by 3 again. I get 15. I know I can divide that by 3 again, and I get 5. Well, I can't divide by 3 anymore, and I've already divided out all the 2's, so that means I need to go up in my ladder for the prime numbers, which is 5, and then I get the 1. So there's my 1 and done, so I know I have all of my factors. I'm going to go ahead and circle all of my pairs. So I have a pair of 2's, they're going to get to come out and play. I have a pair of 3's, they're going to get to come out and play. But I have a 3 that's all by its lonesome without a partner, and I have a 5 without its lonesome without a partner. So that 2 gets to come out and play, and we already discussed we're going to multiply those together. 2 times 3. And then in the radical I have the 3 and the 5. Well, what am I going to do with the 3 and the 5? Well, they get multiplied together too. So my numbers on the outside, 2 times 3, that multiplies together to give me 6. My numbers on the inside, I have a 3 and a 5. Those get multiplied back together, and I get 15. So my final answer is going to be 6 square root of 15. So that means the square root of 540 reduces down to 6 square root of 15. Okay, here I have the square root of 16. And I'm going to break down the square root of 16. So I'm going to start dividing by 2. We always start off dividing by the smallest prime number. And I get 8. I can divide by 2 again. And I get 4. I can divide by 2 again. And I get 2. Divide by 2 again. And I get 1. And here's my 1 and done. So just like before, I'm going to go ahead and circle my pairs. So I have a pair of 2's that get to come out and play. And I have another pair of 2's that get to come out and play. So I have the 2 on the outside, another 2 on the outside, but wait a minute, I don't have any other numbers left over. Okay, well that means it's a perfect square, and I don't have to have the radical sign. Most people are going to be inclined to put it. I'm not going to need it. Okay, it's a perfect square whenever you have an even number pair of numbers. So then I just multiply them together. So the square root of 16 is 4. Okay, now you try some on your own.